Welcome to the very first edition of Let's Play WWE 2017. If you've been watching my social media over the last couple of weeks, you've seen that I really have been somewhat of a mark over the last couple of weeks with WWE as far as certain aspects of the company. And for one thing, I will say that, I was wrong. I was wrong for one reason and one reason only. Because I was becoming exactly what I thought was wrong with it. I was becoming exactly what I thought was wrong with wrestling, and that is a mark who thinks everything he says is gold. And I don't think that. I don't agree with that. And I don't like it when people do that. Because I feel like if you're a fan of wrestling, you're supposed to be encouraging to other people coming in and watching professional wrestling. You're supposed to be encouraging to the people who are also with you at the shows, who are around you every week. And also, as a fan of professional wrestling, you're supposed to welcome people into the profession, not turn people away. And I feel like over the last couple of weeks, I've been turning people away because of my negative attitude towards certain aspects of professional wrestling. And this is not my way of saying that I apologize. It's my way of saying I believe pro wrestling is designed to be portrayed in a certain way, and the certain way that it's been portrayed with people coming in and, fans trying to make themselves the attention grabbers and the highlights of the show, I believe that's wrong, and I think that fans need to realize they're not the most important part of the show. The talent is. But before I get myself in trouble, I just want to say this, that maybe, just maybe, the fans, I will say that it was brought to my attention that maybe if the fans were actually entertained, they wouldn't have to try and make themselves the center point of the show. And that's exactly what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to try and entertain the fans and see what I can come up with and try and book WWE 2017 better than WWE. But before we get going, I just want to say that some things have changed. And one thing has changed, and that one thing is that 205 Live is no longer a show, and 205 Live has been cancelled for one reason and one reason only, and that is because, plain and simply put, there is no need for the Cruiserweights to be on both 205 Live and Monday Night Raw, and I feel like the Cruiserweights would benefit more from being on Raw than being on 205 Live, so I discontinued 205 Live in favor of moving the Cruiserweights to the show of shows, to Monday Night Raw, where I feel like they can stick out more and have more of an opportunity to succeed in the company. So, with that being said, and without further delay, let's jump right into this. Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention before I jumped into it, which as you can see, Jack Gallagher and Tony Nese. Well, first of all, for those of you who don't know, in this game, the difference between this game and TW 2013 is, in this game the game allows you to put openers and enhancement talent against each other in the pre-show, just as long as they're on the pre-show. Yes, they don't gain as much popularity, or if any popularity on the pre-show, because, well, for obvious reasons, it's the pre-show. But at least, maybe, just maybe, they gain something from participating in a match that wouldn't have been featured whatsoever. The other thing, wouldn't have been featured on Raw. The other thing I wanted to mention was that I'm going to be doing this series a little bit different than I normally do, because not this episode, but episode 3 will be a different. We'll put this in a different light than other past Let's Play series, because I will be booking both Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live on the same episode, because it would make things move quicker rather than making each show its own episode. So, with that being said, I'm not gonna do it this week, because Main Event is airing before SmackDown, and I'm actually going to move Main Event to a different part of the week, and allow Main Event to feature the cruiserweights as well, and basically be 205 Live. And now Alicia Fox moves in. It's not. I know. Oh, what does Foxy gain from participating in a pre-show match? What does she gain? Well, she gains a win. So even if she doesn't win on pre-show, the actual show, at least the live crowd sees Foxy gets wins. I'm a little bit disappointed about this match because in the first run through of the show, Enzo got a 74, now he only got a 65, but either way, the point of this isn't necessarily to, get an 80 or an 85, even though, yes, you say, oh, start the show off on a high note, but it's to spotlight somebody different. Enzo Amore has been developing his feud with Big Cass over the last couple of weeks, and I feel like WWE did it in real life, and I'm going to do it here, that Enzo needed to be featured in this position to give his feud with Cass a little bit more of the spotlight than it's been getting. And yes, if you're wondering at this point, Cass is known as the guy who attacked Enzo, because I looked it up before I started recording, and the reveal was in June, about 3 weeks before Great Balls of Fire. I have nothing to say about this match other than the fact that it's the same thing as the 6-man tag team match, and I kind of just forgot it was actually happening, because because I didn't see it before I started running through the show. But basically the point was that at this point, TJP had not been doing anything, had been doing nothing whatsoever, and had lost a lot. He had lost a ridiculous amount as Neville's second in command in Neville's feud with Austin Aries. I believe this was past the time when TJP got his title shot on 205 Live. But either way, I like TJP as a heel, and hopefully this gives Lince Dorado a little bit of momentum, being featured on the USA Network rather than on 205 Live on the network. Okay. Shit. I almost lost my microphone. Sorry, my arm, I'm a little sore from, some activities yesterday, so, physical activities, not, you know what, I'm gonna just stop talking and let your, imagination run. But basically, Neville's not doing anything. Neville's feud with Austin Aries has ended. Neville beat TJP. Neville's not doing anything. So, what better way to get him on television than have him have a sit-down interview with Michael Cole and put forth the same thing that Michael used to do every Wednesday or, you know, somewhat weekly on, YouTube, back in the day. And the reason why this is here is because I let them be unscripted. And the reason why I let them be unscripted is because I felt like not having them be unscripted would defeat the purpose of a sit-down interview. See, the point, in my opinion, of having a sit-down interview is not only to add depth back to the character, that being Neville, but also give him a different environment to cut a promo and see if the fans could see a different side of somebody that they've seen for a very long time. So that's why I chose to do it the way I did. And now, I don't think I have to take too long to explain this, because all of you people know how often Bray Wyatt actually wins in real WWE, and that's the sole reason why Bray won this match, is because I want to start giving him some momentum and put on display, much like with Alicia Fox on the pre-show, that I want to show the fans that Bray does win, and I want to start rebuilding Bray's stock and his believability with the fans, because at this point, Bray's stock is like so low that it doesn't even make sense to put him in anything worthwhile. So now we move back to Extreme Rules, as Alexa Bliss comes out and shows highlights of her match with Bayley, and puts over the fact that how she was right, how Bayley could not take it to the extreme, and how she decimated the former champion and the person that everybody loves. And she basically goes off and says that maybe instead of coming back right away, Bayley should take some time on the sidelines and learn how to grow up. And this brings out Sasha Banks, who goes to bat for her best friend, saying that we all have a childish side. We all remember what it was like to be a fan. We all remember what it was like sitting there and watching our favorites growing up. And it just so happens that you and I may have adapted to how it is now. But one of the things that make me love Bayley is her childish demeanor. And the fact that at heart, Bayley is still the same girl she was when she would watch the WWE as a fan, as a young girl. And that's not something to break down. That's something to praise, because she is living her dream, and you, Alexa, are about to enter your own personal nightmare. Why is that, Sasha? You gonna defend your friend? You gonna come to bat for your good pal Bayley? What, you're not gonna let Bayley fight her own battles? You're not gonna let Bayley be her own person? No, Alexa. I want a title shot. It has nothing to do with Bayley. It has to do with me wanting to step into the ring with you. For that. And she points to the WWE Raw Women's title. What do you say? You, me, great balls of fire. Alexa just laughs at Sasha and says, what have you done to deserve a shot at the goddess of WWE? Impress me, and maybe I'll give you a shot. and this moves Sasha into a match with Emma, with Alexa on commentary, and Alexa and Sasha gets the victory over Emma. I know what somebody, oh, you're just like WWE, you're never gonna let Emma win. It's the first show. Yes, you're right. I could have picked Dana Brooke. I could have picked a whole host of other people. I know I could have. And I know some will say, oh, if you could have picked all these other people, why did you pick Sasha? Why did you pick Emma? Emma has no momentum. Emma just returned. She needs momentum. It's one match. Relax. This is why I want to say certain things about wrestling fans, but I feel like I don't want to insult my own audience. But I will say that this is the case, that as a wrestling fan, patience is a virtue. Following the match, we have Alexa stand up. We have Sasha walking up the entrance ramp. Alexa stand up from the announce table and hold up her Raw Women's title, going face to face with Sasha Banks, and Alexa says that this title is mine. And all you see is Sasha doing the motion around her waist, saying that she's coming for the Raw Women's title. And here we go. Samoa Joe, Brock Lesnar, for the first time, face to face, in the ring. I don't know how the feud went, but I'm building it up as good as I can between now and Great Balls of Fire, because it's only 3 weeks. The feud won't close out at Great Balls of... The feud won't close out at Great Balls of Fire because the idea of how good this feud was booked and keeping Joe in the main event is the best idea, especially with the fact that the main event is kind of weak at this point, because I don't trust Dean Ambrose as a main eventer on Raw, and The Miz is Intercontinental Champion and can't be a main event. He can be a main event, but he's Intercontinental Champion and needs to be focused on that, and not necessarily focused on facing Roman Reigns, or Brock Lesnar, or somebody like that. You know what I mean? But either way, I love this segment. Awesome segment, awesome job by Brock, Paul, and Jill. A little disappointed, I will say. I thought this match was going to get a little bit better. Brian Kendrick did right around what I expected. Tozawa, right around what I expected. The reason why... Well, to be fair, Ariya Daivari really isn't that good to begin with, but the reason why Mustafa Ali and Drew Gulak are as bad in-ring performance as they are is because Drew Gulak is an opener and Mustafa Ali is an enhancement talent, but I think that this is just something I may have to deal with for right now. I don't think that after a month, all these guys are still going to be enhancement talents and openers and, doing shitty in the ring. Because just looking at Tozawa and Grand Metalik is an enhancement talent. And he's already getting a 29 in the ring, so getting him a little bit more popular may be beneficial to me, because it may allow me to, or it would allow me to, have more people in the ring that are over, and are able to go longer than 6 minutes without, yes, I know, a 6-minute tag team match going 6 minutes. I'm not going to have job guys go this long. Yes, I know job guys, but I don't know what to say. Right now, nothing is confirmed for the cruiserweights. Nothing is set in stone. As I said earlier, Neville was featured in a sit-down interview because he has no feud. He has nothing going on at this point. And I'm not going to rush him into anything because Neville is Neville. And Neville is Cruiserweight Champion and doesn't deserve to be rushed into anything. He deserves more to be put into something worthwhile, because at this point he's been Cruiserweight Champion for 7 months and deserves something worthwhile. But either way, now we move to a highlight package, putting over what's happened between Big Cass and Enzo Amore over the last couple of weeks, and the reveal last week. 2 weeks ago. The reveal 2 weeks ago, and then the big segment a few weeks back with last week, I should say, with Cass and Enzo, with Cass swerving Enzo and acting like they're going to get back together and then attacking him. But it's a highlight package of how things started and where we're going from here. Once again, much like Brock and Joe, there was no previously done segments in the feud, so I only have 2 weeks to build up that feud because it's going to be a one and done. I'm just going to say that I don't care about why waste it, why only do one and done, Well, basically it's because I'm building up Big Cass, I'm not building up Enzo. Next thing is, Bray Wyatt and Finn Balor. Kurt Hawkins, it was basically this match. I know Kurt and Finn had a little coup de grace on Raw a few months ago, where it was back-to-back weeks of Kurt losing to Finn, nothing really coming of it, blah, 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 blah. But this really is going to be, Finn. Basically the point of this match is to set up start Bray versus Finn. That's it. Bray attacks Finn, delivers to Sister Abigail, looks over at Kurt Hawkins. Kurt leaves the ring. Kurt runs from the ring, and then Bray sits down next to Finn. Bray sits down next to Finn, and just stares down at him as we go to commercial break. And the commercial break is Bray's little stupid thing of, whoop. Or as Adam would say, boop, 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 boop. Yes, if you haven't put two and two together, I'm a fan of What Culture Wrestling, with Simon and Jack and Adam and all those guys. And I was quoting Adam's, how he would book Sister Abigail. I'm not going to link you to it because it's not my video, it's theirs, and they don't need help getting more views. But it's there. But either way, to continue with my show and get away from the sponsors, but if you want, give me 1 second. Let me get my mind back in order. Okay. Now, I realize that Golden Truth may have broken up by now. Goldust may have been doing his shit, and R-Truth may have been doing his, and blah, 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 blah. But I want to do it over. And you say, of all the feuds you could pick to do over from 2017, you're going to do over Goldust and R-Truth? Yes, because Goldust and R-Truth should have had. There is no reason why they couldn't have been a good undercard feud. I'm not saying you necessarily had to give him a pay-per-view spot. I'm not saying that. You could have used Great Balls of Fire to springboard the feud. You could have used this week and next week, and then you did the turn at Great Balls of Fire. You could have did that. There's no reason why you couldn't have. And then you could have did the turn. You could have did the turn at Great Balls of Fire on the pre-show, given him time on the regular show, and then given him a match at SummerSlam. You start teasing tension in June, and then you give him a 2-month feud. Why not? What do you have to lose? You have a fucking 3-hour show, and you're gonna tell me you can't spare 5 minutes or 10 minutes? You can't spare 5 minutes a week, 10 minutes for a match, or 12 minutes for a match for Goldust and R-Truth? Or you have a fucking 4-hour show, pardon my French, but you have a 4-hour show and you can't spare 10 minutes or 12 minutes for for Goldust and R-Truth. And you say, oh, it's the biggest part, but it's supposed to be like a WrestleMania. Would you see Goldust and R-Truth on WrestleMania? No, you'd see Goldust and R-Truth on the WrestleMania pre-show, but that's where WrestleMania is totally different than SummerSlam. WrestleMania has an established name. SummerSlam hasn't been an established name in 3 years. Yes, WWE has been doing a good job to repair the show, but fact of the matter is, SummerSlam isn't nowhere where it was. No way close to where it was back in the day. So what's the big deal if you give 10 minutes to two guys who deserve it on a fucking 4-hour show? So let's move on now as Goldust and R-Truth talk about the Four Corners #1 contendership match and how Goldust wants to start building momentum and not be such a laughingstock anymore. And R-Truth agrees, and they get ready for their match. And of course, the Hardy Boys get the victory in the match with Rhino and Slater, the Golden Truth, and Anderson and Gallows. What was I gonna say? Well, this was basically done the same way as it was in real life, with the Hardys winning a #1 contender match. The only difference is this was a Four Corners match instead of a gauntlet match, because in this game you can't do a tag team gauntlet. Now we move to Ambrose and The Miz, with The Miz introducing his Miztourage, with Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel getting time on television, with Miz building them up. Not just putting them out there and expecting their credibility. You can't see it, but I'm doing air quotes. Their credibility stand by itself, because they don't have any credibility. They haven't had any credibility. Well, to be fair, Curtis Axel hasn't had credibility since his tag team with... I think he may have had some credibility in the Social Outcast. Bo Dallas hasn't had any credibility since his last push. But once that faded away, he lost all credibility. But if I had to pick, I would say Bo has more credibility than Curtis, but I still think that Miz needs to explain why, of all the people on the roster and all the people in the wrestling world, that he picked Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel to watch his back. Not just giving Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel the center stage without any meaning and logic behind it. That's why Miz talks about him, builds him up, say why he chose him, that Bo Dallas has been born and bred to be in this business, as was Curtis Axel, and though they had some rough goes of things within the WWE, they are now under the tutelage of the best wrestler in WWE, the best talent in WWE, and the best couple in WWE, Miz and Maurice. And with our direction and with our help, Bo and Curtis will be future stars. And this, of course, opens the door for Dean Ambrose to come out and run down Miz and his Miztourage, which sets up a match between Bo Dallas and Dean Ambrose. And you're going to say, oh, you just said a blah, 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 and then Bo Dallas loses. Well, that's why I protected him. Bo lost via DQ, because Miz is protecting his guys and taking down Dean Ambrose. Because Dean Ambrose, because this feud happened on SmackDown already, and there needs to be a new way of thinking with this feud, because these two can't face each other. You know what I mean? Because these two can't face each other. Just the two of them. Because their feud has been overdone and overdone and overdone and overdone and overdone, that it would be redundant to have them face again. But you'll have to wait and see where we go next week because I'm telling you right now, it won't be Miz and Dean Ambrose against each other at Great Balls of Fire. I'm telling you that right now. I'm not doing the match again. I'm not doing the match, them two one-on-one. And now we, much like earlier tonight, we go back and we look through the highlight package of what has taken place since January at the Royal Rumble between Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns, and what has made them the hottest feud in the WWE. Of course, I'm not going to cover 7 months of action. It's one of those highlight packages where the talent is in it too. And the talent is basically talking about how Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns are two big bulls, and the two big bulls are ready to collide one-on-one, and that you have Ambrose in there saying he's been in the ring with Braun Strowman, he's been in the ring with Roman Reigns, and there's probably nobody that he knows better in this business than Roman Reigns. And he could say that he's never seen Roman Reigns tossed about in the ring as well as menacingly or as predominantly as he was when he's in the ring with Braun Strowman. Because also, I just want to throw this out there, that some may have forgotten that Braun Strowman, basically from the time he came up from developmental, has worked with Roman Reigns. That's it. Because at the time that Braun came up, Roman was feuding with Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family. And that was the big feud between Roman Reigns and the Wyatts. That was Luke Harper, Eric Rowan, Braun Strowman, and Bray Wyatt. Dean Ambrose was in it. Chris Jericho was in it for a little bit. This person was in it. That person was in it. Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman have been feuding for almost 2 years. On and off. Speaking of Roman Reigns, close cohort Seth Rollins goes up against Kalisto, and you say, oh, why, it's because Seth Rollins has never fought a guy like Kalisto, or I don't remember the last time he fought a guy like Kalisto, and usually Seth does good in matches with people the skill level of Kalisto. Thinking back to his match with Neville, I mean, I would say this match disappointed me, but I wouldn't go that far to say it disappointed. It just made me right around what I thought it would get. And now we head backstage to the start of a new feud with Titus O'Neil, Apollo Crews, and Elias backstage, and Titus, the Drifter, well, sorry for the irony, the Drifter drifts in to the camera shot, which sees Apollo and Titus talking. The Drifter drifts in, and Titus just offers the Drifter a spot on the Titus brand, and the Drifter just keeps walking, and Titus is pissed off because he's ignoring him. But it just so happens that this happened. That the Drifter faces Apollo Crews, and the Drifter loses, of course, to Apollo Crews to set up the feud. But here's where the feud gets set up. Elias, following the match, goes to grab his guitar and smack one of either Titus or Apollo Crews, but it seems like he rethinks it, grabs his guitar, and just walks away. He grabs his guitar and just walks away. Which is weird, because you would think that Elias would take the opportunity to attack him, but it seems like maybe Elias is actually debating Titus's offer to join the Titus brand. But we'll have to find out next week what that actually is going to happen, what is actually going to happen, and I just want to throw this out there too. You may say, oh, it's a stupid, whatever, it's this, that, and the other thing, but it's getting him on TV, and it's a lot better than having Elias feud with Finn Balor like he did at this point, or like he did at this time. Yes, I mean, I'm, hearing it in the back of my mind, oh, but the feud with Finn Balor made Elias seem like a big deal, made Elias, have some momentum, blah, 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 blah. You're right. I agree. Elias had some momentum, Elias had this, Elias had that, from his feud with Finn Balor, but, I feel like the feud went nowhere, and that maybe I could still do the feud at a later date. I could still do the feud at a later date if I wanted to, because I feel like the depth and the substance to the feud was basically just Finn and Elias having matches. There was no depth, there was no substance to the feud other than the fact that Elias was pissed off at Finn for interrupting his concert. So I'm going to use Elias and Apollo Crews, a feud with Apollo, to try and help develop Elias, because Elias and Apollo could be doing something rather than just having Elias do something. I hope that makes sense. Either way, we move to the main event. Roman Reigns, and of course, I'm not finished with you. Braun Strowman attacks Roman Reigns and assaults Roman Reigns, leaving him completely beaten and battered in the middle of the ring, with Braun standing tall as the show fades to black, with Braun standing over Roman. I'm not expecting a good show. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I would say that I'm disappointed with the show, that I expected more from the show, but, honestly, I don't think I did. I don't think I did expect more from the show. And you say, oh, how could you not expect more than a 68? It's the first show. As I always say when I start Let's Play series, Rome wasn't built in a day. Rome wasn't built in a day, and we need to wait and let things develop before we start going to running through expectations and figuring out, okay, this guy's wrong, this guy's right, this guy sucks, this guy doesn't. You know what I mean? So it takes time to figure out what the right way to go is, and yes, I do blame it on the bad rating on the fact that the only segment to get above an 80 was Brock and Samoa Joe. I do blame it on that, but what I will say is I'm not surprised and I'm not disappointed, because this is just the start of things to come for WWE 2017. And by the way, now you know how bad a WWE show would get in real life, because let me know down in the comment section below if you think this is something that you could see WWE booking themselves. Let me know if you think there's anything that WWE wouldn't have booked, if you liked it better than what WWE booked. Let me know down in the comment section below, because as always, feedback is more than welcomed and appreciated. But if you don't want to leave a comment, you can always leave a like, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this, that you can only find right here at Wrestling Express. Till next time. Later.